Let me ask you something. What if you were commanded to do something that was genuinely impossible? I don't mean just hard, I mean something that goes against the very core of your nature. Well, today we're going to dive into a theological framework that tackles that exact question. We're looking at God's plan, our free will, and this command for absolute perfection. And here it is, the command itself, right from the book of Matthew. Be perfect. Just think about that for a second. Not just be good or try your best, but perfect. That's a standard that sounds, well, completely out of reach, right? And that single massive challenge is what this entire line of thinking is built to solve. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with that impossible command, then dig into why we're in a tough spot, the creature's dilemma. After that, we'll see the solution in what's called the divine prototype, look at how that changes us from the inside out, and finally, we'll get to the ultimate proof that ties it all together. All right, let's kick things off with this impossible command. And right away, you need to know this isn't about just checking boxes on a list of rules. Oh no, it goes way, way deeper. I mean, we're told to love our neighbors, which is hard enough, but then the bar gets raised into the stratosphere. You have to love your enemies too. And that reveals the real endgame here. See, the command isn't just to stop us from doing bad things. It's about rewiring us so we don't even have the desire to do harm in the first place. The ultimate goal in this view is a creation where we are, at our core, fundamentally unable to hurt each other. So naturally, that leads us right into the central problem, what we're calling the creature's dilemma. If the goal is this perfect, internal state of being, why is it basically impossible for us to get there on our own? And here's the conflict in black and white. On one side, you have this divine command, be perfect, love everyone no matter what. And on the other side, you have us, our basic nature, which this framework says just doesn't come with that kind of love pre-installed. There's this massive canyon between what we're told to do and what we can actually do. This brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If we can't just cook up this perfect love inside ourselves, then how on earth is anyone ever supposed to obey the command? I mean, are we just being set up to fail? And this is where the whole argument takes a fascinating turn. This is the divine prototype. The big idea here is that God doesn't just hand down an impossible task and then walk away. No, he actually provides the solution to the very problem he created. The cross is presented here as the key mechanism for fixing this dilemma. It's thought of as way more than just a historical event. It's the actual channel, the pipeline, through which God's perfect love is not only proven, but actively given to all of creation. Now get this, because this is a powerful idea. Christ is called the prototokos in Greek, which means firstborn. But think of it less like a family tree and more like a prototype. You know, like an engineer builds the first perfect model before starting the assembly line. The idea is that God became a creature to give us a living, breathing blueprint of what a perfected creature is supposed to look like. So this process of transformation is laid out in a pretty clear four-step path. It's all about imitation. First, you just observe the prototype. You see God in human form. Then you start to understand what that divine love actually looks like in practice. Step 3 is you try to imitate it. And the end result, you become the finished product, a reflection of that original perfect image. Okay, so let's get personal. What does this transformation actually feel like from the inside? That brings us to part 4, love written on the heart. We're talking about a shift from an external rule to an internal reality. The key to this whole internal change is the new covenant. This isn't a new idea. It comes from the prophet Jeremiah. And the promise is this: unlike the old way, where laws were written on stone tablets, something outside of you, this new promise is that God's law of love will be written directly on our hearts, making it a core part of who we are. So how does that even happen? Well, this is where the Holy Spirit comes into the picture. It's the agent of change, the one that actually pours God's love into our hearts. And because of that, we can finally fulfill the command, not because we have to, but because it's our internal desire. Your free will isn't gone. It's perfected, right? When you truly love someone, you freely choose not to hurt them. And that brings us to the climax, the grand finale of this whole argument, part 5, creation's final proof. Because at the end of the day, how do we know any of this is for real? How is this entire incredible plan shown to be just, fair, and even possible? I mean, that's the big accusation that's always been lurking in the background, isn't it? The idea that God's commands are just an unfair burden that no one can actually live up to. So, where's the proof? How do we know for sure that that accusation is false? The answer is incredibly simple, direct, and universe-shaking. The resurrection. Let's just walk through the logic here, because it's actually pretty clean. If sin is what leads to death, then if someone can conquer death, it's the ultimate proof that they are without sin. The resurrection proves that Christ perfectly fulfilled that impossible command to love. It demonstrates that it can be done. It's the final answer to the claim that the command was unjust. And that's why Christ's resurrection is so much more than just a miracle. He's called the first fruits. Think of it like the very first perfect strawberry from the garden. It's the proof that a whole harvest is coming. His victory is the proof that for anyone who follows that prototype, sin and death can be beaten. And that right there is the moment free will is perfected, and the whole purpose of creation is finally complete. And that just leaves us with one last thing to chew on. If the highest form of freedom isn't just the ability to do whatever we want, but is actually being transformed by a love we get from outside ourselves, what does that really mean for the nature of choice and for all the little and big decisions we have to make every single day?